He was the man, the myth, and the legend. He did everything one could want to do, from being a rancher in the Badlands to being the president of the USA. Some might say one of the best presidents, or if you ask me, the third best. He created the national parks we have today. This, of course, is Theodore Roosevelt Jr., or just Teddy Roosevelt. He was born on October 27, 1858 in New York City. He was the second of 4 children, and his father was a businessman. Although you may think of Roosevelt being the most outdoorsy president we ever had, his youth was largely shaped by his asthma and poor health. When he was in the market and saw it at its heel, he obtained the head, and he and his cousins formed the Roosevelt Museum of Natural History. And after learning some taxidermy, he filled his little museum with dead animals he caught or found. He went on a few trips to Europe and Africa when he was young, about 11 and 12. After a hiking trip in the Alps with his father, he learned how to minimize his asthma. But his childhood wasn't all that fun. After getting beaten up badly by some 2 boys at a camp, he got a boxing coach to teach him to fight and strengthen his body. How did this promising young boy learn? Well, he was schooled in the best way. He was homeschooled! Mainly by tutors, and he ended up going to Harvard University. A successful story. After dabbing into a political life and moving up the GOP's ranks, he left New York to the Dakota Territory to hunt some bison. He ended up setting up a cattle ranch near Medora, North Dakota, and ended up getting into some organizations interested in conservation of the area. He came into the territory a hunter and out a conservationist. A truly interesting and inspiring story. After Roosevelt returned to New York, he was offered to become the nominee for the mayor of New York City. Though he had little hopes of winning, he was proven wrong, and he actually won. In 1894, he became New York City Police Commissioner, and just 2 years later, he became Assistant Secretary of the U.S. Navy. But when the Spanish-American War broke out, Roosevelt resigned and created the Rough Riders Cavalry Regiment and fought in the Spanish-American War. But he must have gotten bored of war in Cuba because he decided to become governor of the New York State. But when the vice president died, they needed a new one, because that kind of happens, and people wanted Roosevelt to be that man. Though he didn't want to become vice president, he struck a bargain where if he won the nomination, he would accept it. Otherwise, he would continue his role as New York governor. Well, surprise, Roosevelt won the nomination to become vice president of the United States of America. Long after becoming vice president, President McKinley was shot. Roosevelt was on vacation while this happened and checked up on the injured president. But when he seemed likely to recover, Roosevelt was like, you know what, let's just go back to vacation. But the doctors, they were wrong. And McKinley died on September 14th in 1843. And Teddy Roosevelt presumed presidency. In his presidency, he was viewed as the trustbuster for breaking up the National Securities Company, which was the largest railroad monopoly at the time. Roosevelt also put regulations on the Standard Oil Company and also did things to get agreement for a coal worker strike. He created the U.S. Department of Commerce and Labor, and he oversaw the construction of the Panama Canal. But one of the best works of Roosevelt, which you can still see today, is his creation of the United States National Parks, U.S. Forest Service, and more conservation of land. It has a major impact today on how we have been able to preserve so many sites from development, and we have saved so much to preserve nature. Roosevelt went on hunting expeditions and safaris after his presidency. But after he didn't see President Taft doing what he would have liked so much as president, Roosevelt ran for president. And when the Republican nomination didn't go to Roosevelt, he created his own party, the Progressive Party, or the Bull Moose Party, and ended up splitting the Republican vote, letting Woodrow Wilson become president. But when Roosevelt was campaigning for president, he was shot. But he didn't kill him, and he said, "I will finish this speech or die!" It's quite encouraging to know you gotta do what you gotta do. The man was so tough that in 1919 the Grim Reaper had to kill him while he was sleeping sick, and maybe too weak to kill the Grim Reaper, or else there would have been a fight, and Teddy probably would have won. He left a major reputation as a good president. It's like if Buffalo Bill was a politician and very successful one. But this video must end, or you would be in for boredom. Sincerely, Pickledhaubes!